an even better, I have an even better version that
Even
I
better.
can
Cool.
go here. I'm just gonna, I'll drop a couple of links in the chat and then I will share my screen. So these are some of the supplements to that paper. What Mary Lou's referring to is I decided to try writing a little feature for the newsletter that's like, hey, do you want to read a scientific paper, but you don't really know where to start? Well, here's one that I wrote recently, and I'd like to keep that feature. If people like that one, I'd like to keep that feature going, especially with the new special issue we've got coming out. But this is stuff with different coordinate frames and things. And the map that Mary Lou's referring to is based off of this one. So if we were to take the Earth's magnetic field lines and we were to go to each point of the Antarctic coastline and trace them using AACGMV2, because this Python package that's reported in the paper uses a number of different ones. And then we were to look at where that map ends up, it ends up sort of right about here. And this is a little bit laggy, but I can drag it. And you can see that this has changed over time. So if we were to go back, to previous international polar years, it is in a different place from where it is now. But here it is in 2010, and if we were to project it forward to 2032, 2033, it's sort of in this general area where the northeastern United States and this part of Canada kind of overlay with Palmer Land. And so there's some interesting potential for citizen science projects and deployments. And that's kind of the one of the points we're making in the paper is we wanted to sort of put a flag down in the literature to say, hey, we've got this thing coming up, and here's this mapping solution that points out this opportunity. We as a community should take a look at this and see, what we might put in. So of course, Antarctic deployments are kind of messy right now. But
This
if we
actually
have
is,
a citizen science case to make, yes, go ahead.
this is really helpful. So you're saying like Palmer Station is conjugate with the Northeast?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So actually I've got, let's
That's
see,
really cool.
here's
That's
conjugate stations
that's
in both
super
hemispheres.
that is super duper duper helpful, Christina.
Thank you.
Yeah,
There are
I'll
a few
point
of
out that
these.
we put your map shows why we put equipment at Baffin Island because it's conjugate to the South Pole where we also have equipment. But
Yes.
yeah, Palmer's certainly quite accessible because you can get there civilian little. There's a
Well,
lot of
I
civilian
have
activity down that way.
I have funding, the Antarctic grant I have says to put stuff at Palmer at South Pole McMurdo and Palmer, and I've mostly focused on South Pole McMurdo so far because that's what I know about. But
Uh-huh.
considering that they're doing renovations at Palmer, maybe we should, and given your map, maybe we should focus on that one.
Yeah, let me see I want to grab I don't think I actually put a link to the paper on here. I need to do that. But if I go here and I go Science Direct Conjugate Map, beep boop. This is the paper, so I'll put this in the chat as well. And then this has all of the information for the sort of the flow chart of how it decides which things to use. And we're using GeoPack, so you're in the acknowledgements. Um, and it's got these are some of the this is the original figure 4. Um,
I like
so
the colors too. I thought that was really pretty.
thank you. Yeah, Plotly Express is pretty great because you can just like for a lot of things you can make a little HTML interactive map very quickly.
Hmm.
And then this was sort of like a general point where we have the ability to do magnetic graticules. So if you look at like sort of where the auroral oval will land, right? And
Mhm.
the argument here is we wanted to really, you know, argue for the importance of uh, instrumentation in both hemispheres because you don't want to get in like I think for international polar years there's a lot of stuff where it's like you've got the Arctic people and you've got the Antarctic people, and a
Mhm.
cool thing that is unique to geospace is that in order to take our measurements we really do need both at the same time. It's not a case of like, well, this glacier looks a little bit like this glacier even. It's like, okay, I can't tell you what's happening here unless I can also see what's happening on the other side of the planet. And so the that's sort of the argument that we're making here. Mike Hartinger is also working currently on this sort of like white paper slash meeting report from Geoscoper that I think will also be sort of part of this like set up in the literature of emphasizing geospace in all things IPY5. So, yeah. So that's the paper. I hope people enjoy it.
That is
And
really nice, Christina.
thank you. And if you have anything else that you'd like me to write a little, paper feature for in the future, I'm hopeful that people would like to see that kind of thing in the newsletter, to just kind of see like literature from the HamSCI community and also that might be of interest to the HamSCI community.
I think it's great, and I really like that submission. The newsletter will come out in a week or two or three. At any rate, we're working on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate your part there. So I'd like to propose, Nathaniel, that 2 years ago we had a project about an annular eclipse, and then last year we had a project about a total eclipse, and this year we got a project about meteor scatters. Maybe next year or something we could have something about conjugate points as a real project. Any rate,
I think that would be really great.
We have a whisper sound and a receiver system up at Ellesmere Island. It's near the magnetic North Pole, and I don't know what's conjugate to it, but probably not the German station. But those are the two that we have running that should be contributing recordings.
so beside the one on Ellesmere Island, what did you just say? There's another one?
There's one at DP0 at the German Neumayer station. I don't think that's conjugate though to Ellesmere. Uh, and that's the uppermost of the Canadian Highlands there, and the Ellesmere Island is 82 north.
Actually, where is the German station? Is it near the British station by any chance? Is it on that side of Antarctica? I think it is.
I don't know. I can get the Maidenhead.
Sure.
Yeah, it's hard. Anyway,
Okay. In the meanwhile, any other announcements? Okay. Gary's not in today, but he did leave an update, which is that the Whisper Demon docs are now on the HamSCI website.
That's great.
which makes things quite nice. Rob, did you have any updates?
Not really. I don't, I'm working on the Whisper Demon server world, and I don't think that's an immediate uh, part of this project. So I don't think we're waiting for next week to put the WWV new system into the WWV site. That's uh, that's for our time of flight measurement system to the first the calibrate it and validate it. So.
Christina, any updates on Charette?
Nope.
I'm sorry.
Apart from the fact that we're down to the last week or so of official input collection time. So we'll be putting together the report in early November and seeing what people have. Bill will be able to report it at AGU, and we'll have to schedule some meetings about how we want to work it into our software development plan. But I've been keeping an eye on it, and certainly it's been helpful for me and Nathaniel, and I think to have a place to put our notes as we think of them. But
Mhm.
also we're getting a lot of good input from a lot of different people. So thank you everyone who's contributed, and please don't be shy about putting stuff in there.
So I have a question, Christina. Just order of magnitude, how many suggestions have you gotten? Two,
Oh,
5, 10, 100?
I'd say it's in the tens is what I would say.
Excellent. Yeah.
So, and it's one of the things about it is like whenever people try to quantify code, right? You can say I'd like to have this feature or that feature, and some of these are very easy asks, and some of these are definitely going to require some thought, but it's good stuff. And I'm glad that we've, had an opportunity to take some time to think about it because there's interesting things coming in that is like, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. But yeah, if we get that in now, it could be quite useful in the
Yeah.
future. So
Hmm.
looking forward to that discussion.
Are there any common themes that are going through some of the comments?
Oh, that's a really good question too. Let me just open it up here. Um, let's see. Do I have it set up on this computer? I'll just try and do it from memory. Let's see. So there's a lot of interest in um the like getting it into existing analysis methods that people have. A lot of people are like, there should be a Python API, very good. And then there's also been some things about hardware and stuff that have come up a couple of times. But I don't know, it's been more broad than I would have expected. I would have expected to see like the same things over and over, like, well, what I really want to see is a plot. And I'm not so much getting that. I'm getting kind of more like, hey, have you thought about screen readers? Hey, have you thought about, like this particular GNU radio thing or that particular GNU radio thing? So, I'll get a look at the data as well as far as like when did people submit things, from what IP addresses did people submit things, because you and I are gonna have, pretty big lists to ourselves, but then there's also been stuff from different folks in the community. Gwen Griffiths had a great list of things. Um, I don't remember exactly what it is, but I remember it was a great list. So I think it'll be a really good set of suggestions. And we can decide like what we want to put in there. What has Rob posted in the chat here?
Those are
Oh,
the two stations with active Daisy Whisper Demons uh, and Daisy receivers.
cool.
Wow.
They look cold.
Grape popsicles.
But they don't look conjugate. I mean, they're we're working on trying to get some stations into the British and Australian uh, and maybe even I think there was some talk. Was it Chinese? I don't know. Somebody anyway. There might be opportunities elsewhere. British are really resistant, hard to persuade, but other countries seem to be maybe more receptive to science these days. So, to doing science, but
Is there a particular, maybe you just said this and I didn't catch it. Is there a particular station that you're like, man, I'd really like to get one there? Anything really
um,
high on your wish
you know,
list?
it's Jerry Bulger, uh, who's the Dr. Bulger, who's been organizing this. He is a traveling doctor who actually has it does work down there sometimes, although not and then he has no schedule to go down to Antarctica this in the foreseeable future. So he's the one who's doing that. Jerry Bulger is doing that work. He's also we do have a Whisper Sond up on St. Helena now, and he's working to put the receivers up. I haven't heard from him recently, but we're going to have Ascension Island and we have a transmitter on St. Helena and soon we'll have also the receiver there. Um, so I'll contact him and see if I can get a list. He had a unproductive conversation with some scientist at the British station, and was last he told me Bulger was saying he was looking elsewhere for to see if he can't find another site. Um, anyway, that's he seems to be a venue to or a channel that might be able to help us with this kind of conjugate. Uh, I don't know that we have any other candidates in the Northern Hemisphere, though, that are as good as Elsimer. And Elsimer went down. Apparently, they lost power in this Pearl station, and I haven't looked. I know that the Pierre Fogel, who manages that station, was trying to get it and all the rest of the equipment up there back online. It wasn't just our stuff that went down. So. Now that we talk about this, we also had some interactions with K3LR. I've worked with Tim Duffy, and I think it's an example of how um, hard it will be, maybe, to get sites, receive sites up and working properly. Uh, his site has excessive noise that I'm not sure he even recognizes as so. We need to get somebody trained to support people. I just can't do every one of these sites and walk them through how do you diagnose um, your RFI ingress problems.
I agree with that. And
Yeah.
it's not simple.
Yeah, it is.
So, so we talked about this a little bit during the K3 the latest K3LR deployment. One of the things that's sort of next on my list, right now I'm in like tunnel vision because I've got a grant application due, but in like a couple of weeks, the next thing that's on my list is doing a hardware X paper for the Whisper Demon things with you guys, and trying to get the documentation into that form. Because a lot of what we've got is like it's what needs to be in there. A lot of the bases are covered, but it's a little bit scattered. And I'd like to get that into kind of the um like a peer-reviewed format for one thing, right? That somebody's gone over and been like, this is clear, this is not clear, etc. Just get it all set out as we did for the Grape One. But also, there's a lot of room in there for like, tips and tricks for assembly and how do you debug this system. And so just, let that turn away in your mind for a bit about what particular things you would want to have in that section of a paper like that, that somebody could then go through and get part of the way there on their own, so that when we're doing these deployments, we're not repeating the same steps too often. Because I think that was a very effective thing for Grape One to have it in, like, the documentation in that form, and I'm hoping that we can replicate our success.
Well, I've had great success creating such documents just from a voice recording and handing it to Claude AI. It's amazingly, it's amazing. I mean, it amazing produced an amazingly useful document in seconds. Um, After I just recite it in. So I intend to do that. I have to do new documentation for the server I'm doing, and if that works well, then that's how I'd plan to do the same thing for your Daisy deployment. So we should do it together, though. I have a view. I know so much about the system that I'm liable to make assumptions about.
Yeah,
Uh,
the cursive knowledge thing.
yeah, yeah.
I think Phil called in one of the papers where you're like, "Oh, this is obvious." Yeah, why are
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to explain it. I'm gonna waste your time.
Yeah. So I'm happy, I'm happy to do that. I don't want to be the point person for supporting people, the first layer of support for installations. It's just it's but um it's only been now that I'm approaching the end of implementation of the code. So part of it is that there's everything has been moving around,
Hmm.
software's been moving around mostly. I was going to point out that for a meteor scatter, I'm going to add support for meteor scatter decoding into the Whisper Daemon software, which is not too hard. So that with very little extra CPU time, we can be listening for them. But as you pointed out earlier, the antennas are probably not appropriate. At those frequencies, it seems like at least on 6 meters, it might be possible. You could just plug in. I don't know if it's suitable, but like something like those RTL SDRs, the little, I don't know what they cost now, $25, $30 um, SDRs. We could add one to one of our systems. Just plug it into the USB port, a spare USB port, and connect up a separate antenna, and the Whisper Daemon software can monitor both of them at the same time. It's so for the expensive part of that would probably be the 6 meter antenna and running a separate, uh, if the 888 is sensitive. I mean, if the RTL SDR is a suitable SDR for, I don't think would work well on 10 meters. Um, but I think it might work reasonably well for that. Meteor scatter isn't frequency sensitive, right?
It
It's
is.
nearly, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, the tone spacing is large, so it would seem like and we can compensate for any frequency inaccuracy. I don't know if the oscillator in the RTL SDR is good enough.
There's been some discussion also. This is Bruce, KN4GDX. Discussion of doing something similar to what is being done in the UK with their Meteor Beacon network, which
No.
is, of course, active. And I think what you're describing in the PSWS, the Whisper Daemon is just a passive system, right? You're just simply listening. And there may be some value in that as well, or maybe some combination of those capabilities. But at 6 meters, you definitely the antenna is extremely important. I mean, most of the 6 meter QSO work, when you get a completed QSO, is done with reasonable power and gain, a sizable EIRP. that's not to say you're not going to be able to receive signals with a wire antenna or whatever. And of course, it's also important to consider between 6 meters and 10 meters what the differences are. But I just wanted to point out that what we've seen so far in our own testing is it could be difficult to do anything without a reasonably high gain antenna of some sort for 6 meters. So 10 meters is still TBD, and we're still trying to figure out what we're really going to be able to do with 10 meters. So,
Okay, well, I guess my point is that on the receive side, it's the core, this Whisper Daemon server, which has a 888 directly connected to it, you can have several more SDRs attached at the same time and be monitoring all of them. So I hoped I communicated that the adding meteor scatter, I think, sounds like more of an antenna challenge than anything else. And on the transmit side, yeah, the Whisper Sond is a 1 watt output. So I bet you Paul could implement a transmitting mode so that on 6 meters, the Whisper Sond could emit a meteor scatter, uh, whatever that format is. But I don't think that it's only 1 watt. Well, at 6 meters is much less than that. So you could, on 6 meters, what we've done is again separate antenna for the whisper sound on the output, one of the 8 output, select output 8, set it for 6 meters, feed that output into some kind of a amplifier that works, and obviously you get enough power. I don't know I know nothing about meteor scatter, so I'm just offering that both the whisper sound and the whisper demon both could be useful.
I think there's a lot of good potential there that definitely needs to be looked at. And there's also a big difference between doing a QSO in a WSJTX QSO and meteor scatter versus doing the SOND receive type function.
Yes, I think yeah, we on all the other bands, the whisper sounds are monitoring and actually uploading to PSK Reporter all of our FT4 and FT8. So even though we don't transmit it, probably the Whisper Daemon systems are contributing more of the FT4 and 8 reports to PSK Reporter than certainly any other single source.
Yeah.
We're listening on all the bands all the time at all the the Daisy sites.
Yep, that's great.
So, so you'll hear, yeah, so you'll hear the FT4, for example, if the antenna is suitable and the receiver, if there's no low pass filter, you will get 6 meter FT4 and 8 reports from your Whisper Daemon, your Daisy sites. They'll be putting up lots of FT4 and 8. Well, mostly 8, but anyway, in fact, we have a clone. I should have said the part of my Whisper Daemon the server work is that I have a Andrew Rodland what's his KC4 KC2G. Yeah. Andrew has been maintaining scraping the PSK reporter database and creating tables on our Whisper Daemon server. So there is a table which dwarfs the Whisper table in size of FT4 and 8s, and that's a queryable database. And it goes back for a year now. So it's every FT4 and 8 conversation uh, received by by everybody um, for the last year. And so that's that's another way I don't think FT4 and 8 are likely to show any characteristics of meteor scatter or be transmissible via scatter events. I don't know. Could one detect an FT8 or 4 transmission that was delivered on 6 meters by meteor scatter?
My my guess is no, because the meteor scatter happens so quickly. And so what I've learned from the meteor scatter QSO project so far is that the meteor scatter transmissions are very, very quick. And the FT, and so it just happens in like less than a second. But with
Oh,
FT4, FT8, FT8 where you have
yeah,
like a 15-second integration time,
yeah,
it doesn't work. One
yeah.
of our main criteria for recognizing a QSO as meteor scatter versus not meteor scatter is if we look at a whole 15-second transmission period, if we see the signal for the entire 15 seconds, we know that it's not meteor scatter. If we see it just up for a fraction of a second or so, or a second, then we say, okay, it's probably meteor scatter.
Oh, and how are you doing this looking for signal?
It's in the WSJT program. So with when you run it in MSK 144 mode, it comes
Uh-huh.
up with something called a fast graph, which shows you a, a real-time spectrogram, I guess. I think it's a spectrogram that's going across the 15-second time slot.
So it's a diagnostic view in JT.
Yeah. Yep. And
Well,
that's what our students going to be looking for are those particular signatures.
I mean, is
Mary-
this, but there's also a way that programmatically one can search those recordings for these meteor scatter, right? It's a particular modulation technique. Is that right?
Well, no, because I mean, so yes, you can potentially develop a programmatic way of looking at the identifying meteor scatter, but no, you can't base it simply on modulation, because the MSK 144 is just a modulation scheme. It could be propagated, it's propagated very well by sporadic E. So,
Uh,
so, so if you just because you're getting MSK 144 does not mean you're getting meteor scatter.
hmm
Some of the meteors, though, are longer than 1 second. So I was shown some the other day that were 4 or 5 seconds. Be good to get those.
Yeah. So
But
I don't
you
fully
need
know
5 or 6
that.
seconds, even in FT4, in order to do much of a decode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now that I'm near the end of my work on the servers, Whisper Demon servers, I'm incorporating MSK 144 support into Whisper Demon was on my list, near my top of my list, but I don't think I truly understand what's needed. I mean, I'm treating it like I would
I,
treat.
I think I think what my if I were to just spitball something right now, I would say run a ring buffer that is saving the IQ data, kind of like you do right now. And then if you get a decode, you not only want to mark down the decode, but you also want to send that wave file or that IQ file up to the server for later analysis.
Well, those wave files that's a lot of data. If it would be best if we could do the analysis on the Whisper Demon
Yeah.
library.
So
Is there?
Yeah, and so I think this is something that as the MSQP group, keeps going along, trying to identify what analysis needs to be done, how to automate it. Maybe the MSQP group could work with you to identify exactly what needs to be implemented.
Okay. Well, I wasn't even aware there was such a group. So there, someone there hopefully would let me know, and I'll be happy to implement and incorporate whatever they determine. We get, we're getting recordings. They're 12 kilosample recordings, wave files, the IQ wave files.
Yeah.
So we can hand them off to anything. Well, actually, they're upper sideband, but we could add IQ recordings if that's what they want. It's the but I don't know what to do with them right now. I tend to well, I do. Whisper does make 1 minute long recordings, and but then it can process the multi different segments of that file. So maybe we're not trying to implement a QSO mode here. We're monitor. So the latency associated with waiting for a minute before you start working on the first second isn't a big deal. There's lots of
Yeah.
CPU time. I mean, we've got plenty of idle time. I've
Yeah,
most
the meteor scatter group is fairly nascent. It's formed out of doing the meteor scatter QSO party, and now we do have a group that's meeting fairly regularly to figure out what to do with all of that data. So right now they're still at the stage where they're just looking at the raw data, the wave files that have been uploaded to Zenodo, and they're trying to figure out how they want to actually do the processing.
Okay, well, implement something in Python or C or Fortran for that matter, and I could run the WAV file recordings through
Or we'll send you we'll send you a deck of Fortran 77 cards.
it. Yeah, the Whisper decoder is implemented in Fortran, so we're already using Fortran.
It's perfect. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good job, good idea, Rob. And I think that's something we will have the make sure the MSQP group is thinking about as we're talking about what analysis to do. How can we split this analysis up so that it could run routinely on individual PSW stations?
Yeah, we're uh, it can have the thing. I mean, I don't know if it's useful. I know that that people concentrate on. Sounds like dawn is a good time to get meteor scatter. I don't know, with systems like the Whisper Demon, you can be listening 24/7. It hardly costs you anything. So
Yeah, I think that would be ideal. And Mary Lou, that would be the way to do what Dave Heisel wanted.
Yes. Thank you,
yeah,
Rob.
yeah, it's just need to know what to do. You know, I've got a wave file every 1 minute long wave file every minute. Tell me what you want to do, with it and where you want it to go, the results to go. By the way, I put up in the chat that image, which is the example of a difficult, well, an somewhat impaired receive environment. On the left is a K3LR, and on the right is the same antenna system at George Brickett's K9TRV. Same antenna at his site. He's 100 miles to the west. But if you look at that, you can see there's in George's case that there's the noise level decreases as you go up in frequency, whereas on the left there's all kinds of bumps, uh, on the order of 10 dB bumps during the day. I need to do the same measurement at nighttime where there's no possibility of ionospheric noise above 20 meters or something. But I believe that's what the chart on the left is what you see day and night, and that's not a good optimized receive site. You can see the red line on those charts. The web page incorporated into Whisper Demon, so you can go to all these sites. There's a spectrum view, and listen to things. But you can turn on this feature that's the red line, which shows you the minimum noise level in each of the, or I guess in this case, 40 kilohertz wide bins. So that red line gives you a kind of an idea of the noise floor over the last integration period. And that's a very good insight into the performance of the site and the level of RFI ingress, which to me looks like it's on the order of 10 dB at K3LR. There's 10 dB of extra noise, almost, I think, all above 15 megahertz for sure. I don't know that that noise is propagated or it's just unique to the one antenna system that we're connected to. But you're going to encounter encounter similar kinds of diagnostics. You need to take a look at this spectrum view at a site uh, once it's installed and see what can be done to optimize it. Interesting. One of the things at K3LR, of course, they have 1500-watt transmitters all over the site, and they were on last weekend, and the AGC was pumping. So there's every time they turned on, they would, the AGC wasn't fast enough to catch the SSB conversations. But I went in and just turned down the gain, made the RF gain fixed, and it didn't overload, and we got very good responses out of it still. So this is a site where the 16-bit DAC actually does give us a pretty good advantage in terms of accommodating an incredible, basically more than 100 dB dynamic range is in this environment.
That's interesting. Did K3LR do his RFI sniff test? Because I know he was going to do that, and if we didn't pass, he was going to turn off the system this weekend for CQ Worldwide.
He did some work. He did some work. Yeah, I don't think he's found any ingress from the system, so I think he did that last weekend. And in the process made some other changes. Prior to that, his that spectrum view was much worse than what you see there. It was another 10 or 15 dB higher. I think he pulled some cables or removed some Ethernet equipment or something, or introduced some Ethernet filters that helped significantly reduce the RFI to the level you see at the left. But I'm not sure that Tim really even understands that this is that he still has a RFI problem on this system. And I don't know how much I should bother him. You guys might want to go out there sometime and for a real RFI debug session.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to plan another trip out there. I think probably this next spring or summer.
Okay. Well, it's a good site, and if you look at the top spotters list, it's pretty. He's doing not as well as you though, Nathaniel. Your site's is pretty good, doing pretty well, and Jenny Jump is doing pretty well, and. Let's see if I can. I have a query that I look at to uh, uh, let's see here. I'm going to do this query, and you can see how this site compares. Well, this I thought I had a better. Okay, so let's see if you. I don't know. We're dragging on here. I don't mean to. Let's see. Share. So you can see here's the comparing the last 24 hours, most recent 24 hours for 3 sites that have the same antennas.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that up at 10 meters, as I say, there's an excessive noise up there, and you know above, and you can see that on on 20 meters and above, the K3LR falls behind significantly on behind on 20, even on 20 meters behind George and you. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Georgia's site is pretty well, and this is the same DXE antenna on all 3 sites. Now, of course, they're geographically diverse, but 100 and 125 miles between them. And one would expect that the farther east you go, in general, the more spots you're going to get because you have you're closer to Europe. Um, but George is the top spotter here, and he's the farthest west of the 3. So, and what happened? UACNG is not up. Have they gone down? That's part of the query here, and it looks like there's no spots from them. Here's another example of we need somebody monitoring these sites to see if they're operating. Or to write a program to monitor and send us emails if they go down.
Yeah.
Apparently, Jenny jump is down. Unless I mistyped UACNG, you can see this is
Okay.
the SQL query right here,
Okay. Yeah.
and I think that's I just there should be 4 rows here, and there's only 3.
Right.
And so if you look at 10 meters, just look at the 10 meters, you can see that George gets 332 uniques. Now, this is not the total number of spots. This is different beacons that heard in the last 24 hours. And you're almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
And K3LR is, something like 10% fewer. That's so, if you look at your site, you do really well on 12 meters relative to the other 2. I mean, this is
Yeah.
you have to, there's a lot of statistical noise here
Right.
in these numbers, and but so yeah, but a 10% is, I think, a significant difference. A 10% difference in one of these measurements is significant. So you can see that the number of raw spots, interestingly, isn't all that different. If you look at the raw column, you can see that while George has the most, you and he and K3R are not so far behind.
Yeah.
And but the number of spots, the number of raw spots, does roughly correlate with the number of unique different beacons that you heard. They're about, I don't know, 2,500 beacons or something out there, 3,000. So you're getting a good percentage of those running worldwide at all 3 sites. So I don't want perfection to, besmirch the K3LR site. It's doing well. It's just that
Yeah.
there's an opportunity to do even better.
I
So
agree. All right. I think thank you very much, Rob. That's
yeah,
very
sure.
useful. We'll have to figure out
Okay.
what's going on with UACNJ. Um, yeah, definitely need to there's some other things that we need to take care of over there too. But I think we are at our 11 o'clock hour, so turn it back over to Rachel.
Does anyone have any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, 73, everyone.
Okay. Bye.
73.
Hi.
I'm in a tree.